imagine you are installing something on your server, or you're waiting for some process to finish. The waiting also takes time that you can use more wisely. So in this video, I will show you how you can automate this task of getting notifications when the installation has been finished or the task has been finished in a simple open source software called NTFY. It's open source, free to use. You can install it on your own server, on your Docker. We will be installing this on Zone.eu servers, as they have provided us free server for this user guide tutorial. And maybe you will find it interesting, so stick around to see how it works, how to protect it, and how to use it. I add it in chapters, so it's much easier for you to navigate the chapter that you are interested in. This video will not be long. I will stick to the point of installing the NTFY, configuring it, securing it, and basic use task, how you can send the messages to your iPhone or Android. Both installations for iPhone and Android are available in App Store and Google Play Store, so you don't need to jailbreak or unlock unknown developers to install the software on your phone. That's another benefit. And yeah, we will test out how using the curl method, how you can use the tokens to send the messages. The token is one-time generated. Of course, you can change it if you need it. According to your scenarios, you can add teammates and stuff like that. So let's get started and see how it works. First things first, to start the setup for NTFY Notify, we need a virtual cloud server. We don't need the managed server, as we will be doing everything on our own, so we need just cloud server VPS. And you can go, of course, with the cheapest one. We can now start setting up the NTFY. What we need is Docker, because we'll be hosting it on Docker, as mentioned before. And with the Docker, we can have more flexibility, easier to migrate it if we want to migrate to some different server or something, or some upgrades. There are various use cases, scenarios, how we can use the Docker image and why it's better to use Docker. First things, let's install our Docker. The whole Docker installation is available on the Docker website. I will link also this in the description. And in our case, we are using Ubuntu on the Zone.eu. Then we need all this to be executed. We will be executing this step. If you already have the Docker, you can skip to the next part. So firstly, let's update our repositories. As I know, in Zone.eu, they always have the latest repositories when you install your Ubuntu server or you do the reinstallation. That is one of the key things why I like also Zone.eu, that they have everything already provided. So let's execute the commands. So I'll forward it to the point where everything's already installed and configured from the Docker side. To set up an Nginx reverse proxy that will make the port forwarding for our Docker containers, let's assume you will have several websites and you want them to use the default HTTP port 80 or HTTPS port 443. Therefore, we need Docker Nginx reverse proxy. The whole commands will be available in my medium.com webpage, which will be linked down in the description. Also in my X articles webpage, also listed down in the description. So we execute the following command. It starts downloading the image from the Docker hub. As you can see, the Zone.eu network speed, 1 gigabit per second. Everything happens smoothly, fastly, no issues. If we do just a check, we can see that our container is already, we created 10 seconds ago, it's up 9 seconds. If we do it again, we see the time the container is up is increasing, therefore we know the container is working, it's not restarting. If your container is all the time showing from 1 to 5 seconds or in state restarting, then you know that your container is a bit broken off and you just need to Docker rm your container name and redeploy it. If you do Docker rm, the container will be removed, but the image will still stay on the server. If you want to remove the image, then you need Docker rmi and the image name. To see your images, you just can type Docker image ls and you will see your Docker images. You can delete them by ID or also by the name, repository name. So once we have already installed the Docker Nginx reverse proxy, let's clear this all up. We now will install Nginx proxy Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt will provide us automatically with the SSL certificates. Let's run our Docker Nginx Let's Encrypt. As you can see, it fastly downloads from the Docker Hub. With Zone.eu speed, it's pretty great. If we execute Docker PSA, we can see that it's up and running and no issues with it. Let's execute it again. Everything's working fine. But before we continue to NTFY, let's set up a Portainer, the web-based UI for managing our Docker environments. If you already have a Portainer, then you can skip forward to the next chapter where we will be installing NTFY. Also, I would like to mention about the Portainer. You can use it on the Kubernetes, not only on your local Docker, and you can also connect it remotely. Portainer is free to use if you want the community version, but they also have a business version where you need to pay some fee monthly or yearly if you want to have an additional options like creating groups, user groups, assigning permissions to the users. But without that all, you can still have the Portainer. You can create users, you can manage your Docker environments, images, networks, etc., etc., etc. To set up the Portainer, we basically need to create a Docker network. To create Docker network, just execute Docker create network create and your network name. In my case, I'll be using Walter's IT. And since I already have my network, then I'm skipping this step, but when you execute, it will create your network. When you have your network ready, just execute the following command. It will quickly download the Portainer and it will set it up. Meanwhile, let's drink some coffee, because coffee is the IT fuel, what we need to fuel us to gain more and move forward. Let's check on what's happening with our Docker container. We can see it's up, running without any issues. Let's clear this one. Now that we know that our container is running, we can navigate to the web browser and go to our subdomain, and at the end add semicom 9443. Of course, you can forward this port using the Nginx reverse proxy, but that I will cover in YouTube Shorts. That's another reason to click the subscribe button, like button to not miss anything. We now need to create our user. I will be creating mine. Password. As you can see, Portainer asks for minimal 12 characters. I don't want to send any anonymous data. And once we are inside the Portainer, we can see we have two options. We can add remote host or we can add local host. Since we don't have remote, we add the local. This is the Portainer Docker management solution. The default web page is the dashboard, but as you can see, we can have templates, customizations as well. Some already existing templates. We have around 6 pages or even more. If we click, here is like GitLab, already what you can deploy straight away into the Portainer. These are Docker images that will be used. Pretty neat. Customizations, these are stacks. When you have like running, we will have NTFY as a stack as well, but when you run Docker Compose with several Docker containers, they become a stack. Here are all our containers, all our Docker images that we have, our networks, our volumes. We don't have any events, host details, setups, registries. Nowadays, you can host your own Docker registry. You can use GitHubs and GitLabs registry. So it's pretty easy to add the registries or custom registries. Same as with volumes. You can create your volumes and grant permissions and stuff like that. The network as well, you can create it from here. You can link the networks, the images. You can use the registry, you can build an image, you can upload it, you can do several stuff, as you can see. Everything. You can manage your Docker here fully from A to Z. Let's open, for example, our Nginx reverse proxy container. You can see here are the whole information about our container, what's happening with it, the mounts, the networks that we are using. We can also see logs, inspect it, stats, attach, and we can go into, I think it was bash, into root. As you can see, we are right now inside our Nginx reverse proxy container where we can execute the commands. The same is with, if you go to the home, it was settings, I guess. Settings, you can use your custom logo, change the portainer, and do some additional setup for Kubernetes, authentications, keys, etc. Notifications in general. Here you can integrate with most popular authentication methods. And here you can also create users. Users you can create unlimited. There's no restrictions on them so far. Teams, you can create a team. But when you want to assign roles, you need the business subscription of Portainer. Therefore, we don't have business subscription, we can use it freely, but if you want some additional support, features, or something like that, you need to contact them and purchase the subscription. So we have looked at the Portainer. Now let's go back to our terminal and let's create the NTFY. But before we create the NTFY, we need another subdomain, so I'll create the subdomain, drink some more coffee. Once we have our subdomain ready, you can see it's pingable, I will go and create the NTFY image in the SRE. I will make a folder, NTFY. If you want to know more about NTFY, you can visit their website. The NTFY is free to use, but you can also purchase hosting on their servers. As you can see, there are daily message restrictions on their servers, but if you host on your own Docker environment, then there are no restrictions. So far, I haven't seen any restrictions or something like that. Here are some samples how you can use it in Python, in curl, in several ways, development ways. Yeah, let's now create the folder, and inside let's go into NTFY, and let's create the nano docker compose JML. All these commands will be listed in my Medium page and in my X articles, so links will be down in the description. Once we have done that, let's do docker compose up -d so that we are in the detach mode and not straight inside the container. Docker PSA. You can see the container is up for 3 seconds. Now we need to wait a bit for it to start the whole services and stuff like that. Check if the container is up again. As you can see, it's 43 seconds up. If we go to our browser, where is my browser? Go to our subdomain, we can see this is the NTFY. It's working, it's accessible. Here, just let's quickly run over before we go into Android application, iPhone application, iOS, because iOS has a little bit different approach, so we need to do additional stuff to receive the push notifications, because Apple is developed in different way. Their OS is a bit locked down, so we need to do one workaround to have it. But besides that, let's quickly run over. You can use the web UI. You can see we don't have any subscriptions yet. You can go into settings. Here are some basic settings. We can add users, languages. Here's the documentation that redirects to their page. Push notifications. Let's create a topic. Walter's IT. Test. No tags, nothing. Let's send it. So once we have sent it, it should appear. We haven't subscribed, so let's subscribe to topic Walter's IT. No, we don't want to use any other. Here are the Walter's IT. As you can see, all the notifications. This is what we just sent here inside. Inside the Walter's IT, we can respond. All good, working, no issues. No issues. The notification also beeped on my laptop, and we can mark as we have read. If you're working in teams, several team members, then that one who has acknowledged the issue and did something on the server, on the system, he can just mark it as done, and other ones don't need to worry about it. So this is NTFY. It's working. You can create users to sign in, but as you can see, without the user, I can also use it to read topics, do some sendings and etc. We don't want that, because that is insecure, unprotectable, bad practice. So what we are going to do, we are going to now protect our NTFI before we move to the iPhone setup and Android. So in the next step, we will protect our NTFI. Best thing is that we have linked our NTFI to our server, so we can create now the configuration. Let's go to Docker NTFI and config. I will be using Nano editor. You can use what you like better. The configuration file you can get from the Medium page, mine that is again down in the description, and in the NTFI.sh. They also have it there. So let's create the YAML file. That's their default structure, and some things that you need to pay attention. One thing is based URL. You need to change it to your subdomain, which you will have for the NTFI. Let's go further. We'll quickly run over enable cache files and how long the cache should keep. The same is for as logins. As you can see, we have denied all the logins so that there are no external possibilities to register and use our system without us knowing that someone's using. Behind the proxy, there are a lot of also great configurations inside here, so you can read, enable, play around what you like, what you don't like, what you need, what you don't need. I'm just showing you the basics, and we will disable the web interface so that no push, no sending, no reading, no pushing messages to our system. This upstream, by default, it's not included in their configuration. This is something that you need to add if you are an iOS user and you want to receive the notifications on your iPhone or iPad, because this is the workaround that I mentioned, as iOS works differently, and therefore there's like no direct possibilities to ping the phone from your server with the NTFI. That's why they are running through their server. Don't worry, your message content is not visible for them, because what NTFI on your Docker does is just pokes their server saying, hey, push that there's new message to this phone device that there is. And basically that's it. Let's save our configuration. Let's look at our container, and let's restart our container by executing the following command and clear. So let's wait for our container to boot, and our web interface should be disabled, and we can create our API users tokens that we will use in curl and other places when we want to receive notification. Let's quickly jump to our NTFI webpage, as the container should be already started. Let's refresh. Whoopsie, error, nobody can access our web page anymore, read our messages, and stuff like that. Now we can create our user, which we will use the tokens. These tokens will be deleted before this video goes public. Also, I will blur them out. I don't want to get in any trouble with YouTube community or policies. As you can see, we now have one stack. That's our NTFI stack. Let's go to our dashboard. We can do it straight away here. We can edit it with console and sh, or we can also do the following: docker psa. Let's find our container ID, and also we can use the container name. The container name is ntfi.walters.it.com. So docker exets it sh. We are currently in the NTFI container. And once we are inside in the container, let's now add a new user that will have the admin privileges. So this will be our role admin. It will be Walters IT. It asks us to enter password. So again, secure password. Confirm. Our admin role is created. Now we need to get a token to send our messages. Token creation is also pretty easy. We need to enter the username, and here is generated our token. It's blurred out, as mentioned before. So we now have a user, we have a token. Let's get installing the software on our devices and test out the NTFY. Before we get to installing, to exit the container, just type exit, and we are back into our Linux virtual machine. So once we are in our App Store or Google Play Store, let's search for NTFY. Search. This is the real NTFY, the first one, not the top one, as that is sponsored. Never click on the sponsored ones, as sometimes they can be malicious. On my iPhone, you can see I already had it before, so let's download it again. Of course, some things depends on the speed of your network. Let's open the applications. Let's allow the notifications. And here we can do our topics, connections. If you will have multiple topics, multiple servers, as for each use case, you can create your own topic. But once you have several, you will see them here. Yep. Let's use our server to see the topics. So I will now set up it quickly on the iPhone. On the Android is the same process. It's basically the same process, just I can type it one hand on one phone at the same time. So we enter our subdomain. Click subscribe. It asks us for username and password. The username what we created, and the password. As you can see, we have now connected to our Walter's IT topic. The same process is on the Android. The plus sign, topic Walter's IT. That's what we created. Use another server. HTTPS, our subdomain. Subscribe, enter our username and password. Log in. And we are now logged in into our Walter's IT topics. So what we can do now is just move forward and send a notification using the curl to see if it works and how they're working. But basically, the curl, here we can need to use our token. The semicon is needed, required, then goes tk underscore the token that we created, our message, and call out our subdomain plus our topic that we created. And as you can see, straight away, we have received the notifications on both of our devices. If we open them, we can see that they are inside. It's a pretty great thing to have. So this is NTFY, a free open source software that you can use for your own benefit to save your time. For example, I will be using it regularly. I will integrate it in my Bash scripts, Python scripts, in several scripts like PowerShell scripts to get notifications if something happens to my personal systems, to my personal projects, etc. This is an alternative way. Of course, you can use webhooks for Microsoft Teams, you can use Slack hooks, and etc. But I think this is more better because it's so flexible that you can integrate it in any place. And when I'm downloading something large or uploading so that I don't need to wait by the device, I can go make myself some coffee to drink or just do something else, and once the process is done or something has happened, I get the notification. I have had situations when I needed to download a file that's 40 gigabytes. Why I need to wait it? I can set parameters, and once the file is downloaded, I will receive notifications. Therefore, I don't need to sit by my device. I can go watch some movie, play with my daughter, or go out for a walk. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you in the next one. I hope this was educational for you. If you know someone who might benefit from this or might need it to save his time, then please forward the link of the video, share it, and don't forget to check out the Zone.eu. Drink some coffee And thanks Zone for sending the mug and the t-shirt. Thank you. See you the next one. Bye bye.